Hi, I'm Damon Murdoch, principal lawyer at Leo Lawyers. Although this looks and sounds like me, what you're watching is my AI avatar, presenting from a script that I've written and approved. If you're a founder raising capital, there's one concept that can quietly determine how much of your company you actually keep. Often, and that's the difference between pre-money and post-money valuations. This isn't just terminology. It directly affects your ownership, your dilution, and how your cap table evolves over time. So today I'll walk you through what these terms mean, how they work with safes, convertible notes, and equity rounds, and why they matter so much for founders. Let's start with the basics. A pre-money valuation is the value of your company immediately before new capital is added. A post-money valuation is the value of your company immediately after that investment is made. That distinction sounds simple, but the impact is significant. Determines whether investor ownership is fixed or variable, how conversion prices are calculated, and who ultimately bears dilution, whether that's the founders, existing shareholders, or investors. In short, pre-money structures keep investor ownership flexible, while post-money structures lock it in upfront. Now let's look at how this plays out in a pre-money safe. Under a pre-money safe, the investment amount itself is not included in the fully diluted capitalization. The denominator typically includes existing shares and the entire ESOP, including vested, unvested, and often unallocated options, but it does not include the safe itself or other convertible instruments. What does that mean in practice? It means safe investors dilute each other along with the founders and existing shareholders. So dilution is shared. It's not concentrated on one group. Another key piece of this is the ESOP, your employee share option pool. Across safes, notes, and priced rounds, the entire ESOP is usually included in the fully diluted capitalization. That includes vested options, unvested options, and even unallocated options that may be issued in the future. Why? Because this represents equity that will eventually be issued, so it must be accounted for when calculating ownership percentages. Now, here's where the difference really matters. Under a pre-money structure, that dilution is shared across all investors. Under a post-money structure, that dilution is pushed almost entirely onto the founders and existing shareholders. In a post-money valuation, investor ownership is fixed at the time of investment. That means their percentage doesn't change, even if you issue more safes, more notes, or increase your ESOP later. So who absorbs that dilution? The founders and existing shareholders. In fact, in many post-money priced rounds, investors will require the ESOP to be increased, often to ensue a minimum unallocated pool before the round closes, and that increase is borne entirely by the founders and existing shareholders. So the natural question is, which structure is better? Generally speaking, pre-money structures are more favorable for founders and existing shareholders. That's because investor ownership is not fixed up front. Dilution from multiple instruments is shared across investors. And ESOP dilution is also shared rather than concentrated. It also gives founders more flexibility in managing the cap table before a priced round. By contrast, post-money structures tend to favor investors. Their ownership is locked in early, and any additional dilution, whether from new instruments or ESOP expansion, falls on the founders and existing shareholders. So while pre-money and post-money might seem like small technical distinctions, they have major long-term consequences for ownership and control. Pre-money structures distribute dilution more evenly and preserve flexibility. Post-money structures protect investor percentages and concentrate dilution on founders. In most early-stage scenarios, if you have the ability to negotiate, founders should consider pushing for a pre-money structure. But of course, this depends on your cap table, your existing ESOP, and your overall fundraising strategy. At Leo Lawyers, we help founders structure capital raises, safes, and ESOPs in a way that protects long-term ownership and avoids unintended dilution. If you'd like advice tailored to your situation, you'll find our contact details in the description box, or you can visit leolawyers.com.au. Thanks for watching.